Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll back up and I'll do that again so that we have it for the recording. So we started at the faculty and staff tab. And then if you scroll down to curriculum, you can reach the eLumen public site. And this is where you access. So if your dean asks you to teach a new class next semester that you've never taught before, or if you're teaching a class this semester that you are not familiar with, maybe you've never taught it as an adjunct, or it's your first time teaching this particular course, then you can go and find the course outline of record that covers everything that you need to cover in that course. So for example, this semester in the falls, I teach classic myths. And so I choose that one, and my course outline report is going to come up here. So the course outline report has information that you need for your syllabus. If you use simple syllabus, this information is pulled in automatically. But also when you're just getting ready to build your classes, you can go in and you can look at what concepts do I need to cover? What do I need to prepare for? So it tells you how many units the course is. It lists any prerequisites that students have to take before they take the course. And then it goes over the different kinds of assignments that you're expected to give in the course. So for example, I have to ask my students to do a minimum of 3,000 words of formal writing. Now, there's no specific criteria of what that writing has to look like. So what I do when I teach this class is 3 1,000-word essays. But someone else teaching this class, because it's not specified, they could choose to do it differently. All right. It'll give you a list of texts that have been used to teach the class that you can draw from as well. It'll give you the course objectives and the SLOs, the things that the students are expected to do upon completion of the class. So these are the 3 things that I really need to make sure that the assignments that I'm building for my students are giving them an opportunity to demonstrate their understanding of these concepts. And then it'll have a full course outline, which will cover the different topics. So as you can see, there's a lot of key terms and vocabulary that we need to work through in this course, concepts that I need to introduce the students to, and then evaluate their understanding of. Now, part of the equity work that we're doing on campus is really thinking about how students can demonstrate these, how we assess them, how students are able to show us their understanding. So for example, I could create a multiple choice test, right? And that's the summative assessment for this. That's the only option that students have for showing me that they understand these terms, would be to complete a multiple choice test that, you know, matches these terms to their definitions or that kind of thing. I could also ask the students to do writing, because that's on my list of things. So I could ask them to write about these topics. But I have also some leeway in my course outline in terms of the different kinds of activities. And one of the things, the kinds of assignments that my students are allowed to do in this course is podcasts. So I actually have been having my students create and share their own podcasts about different aspects of mythology. And that has been a really popular choice and really successful in the class. So your course outline of record is going to give you a lot of information about what you need to cover in your class and sort of the parameters of how you cover it. But when you're thinking about students from different backgrounds, students coming into the class with different experiences and interests, you know, just remember that you as the instructor have agency to choose what kinds of assessments, what kinds of activities you're giving them in order to help them, you know, let them demonstrate to you that they understand the concepts of the course. So any question about the course outlines? All right. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. The next topic on my list is the rest of this week. So we have convocation and flex day this week. I know some of you are transfers, so how many of you have already done a convocation day or a flex day? Okay, a few of you. So for the rest of you that haven't, tomorrow is the kickoff, the official kickoff for everyone to the semester. And your agenda for tomorrow is probably very, very full. So we have our convocation, that is our convening of the whole campus, faculty and classified staff coming together to get ready for the new school year. And you have the opportunity this time to either attend that in person or to attend it virtually. So just make sure that if you haven't already done so, you fill out that RSVP form that went out in the email a few days ago and let them know how you're going to be attending convocation. And then, lots of good information comes out of that. Depending on your division, usually the division meetings are held immediately after convocation. So you've probably already received an invitation to meet with folks from your entire division. And then there's a little more flexibility for the department meetings. Like Marissa, you're our philosopher, right?
Yes.
Okay. They're a very small department, and so they tend to do a small, like a lunch or something for their meeting. My department has over 100 people in it. So, we have a regular meeting in one of the big conference rooms, or because of COVID, we've been doing them over Zoom. So make sure that any invitation that's gone out from your department for department meetings tomorrow, that you have responded to that, and you'll get a ton of information. But all of those meetings are mandatory. And then on Friday is Flex Day. And if you haven't done a Flex Day before, these are professional development sessions. You are required to complete 5 Flex hours in the fall and in the spring, but our contract does allow for something called flexible flex. So if you did any cool trainings over the summer in order to, learn more about your discipline, or learn more about distance ed, or learn more about equity, anything like that, you can submit a flexible flex form to your dean and ask for credit for those hours for this semester. So for example, I attended a class on ungrading and the idea of teaching a class without grades. And that one I was able to get flexible flex credit for. So I don't have to attend Flex Day sessions on Friday. So if you already did something this summer, or if you have a conference coming up later in the semester you'd like to use for flexible flex, something that you're doing on a weekend, then you can definitely ask your dean for permission to use that for your flex hours. Any questions about that?
That's 5 hours per semester?
Mm-hmm. Yes. But because of the way our contract is written, you could do your 5 hours now, or you could do it in June, or you could, so that makes it a little bit easier to attend the kinds of sessions that you are most interested in or most relevant to your discipline. Any other questions about Flex Day or convocation? Okay. All right, let's see what's next on my list. The contract. All right, that's my next show and tell. Give me just a second. All right, can everyone see the district website on my screen now? I lost James, so I can't tell. He's not, oh, there he is. Okay. I gotcha. So your contract and human resources information, that sort of thing, are already available on the website. And so you go to the State Center website, and then you would go to human resources. And under human resources, over here on the right-hand side, there's a link for our collective bargaining agreements. All right, so you need to bookmark this tab. You'd be very familiar with this because this is your contract. Okay, so the contract is here. And if you have questions about something, you open the documents and just search through. So for example, rules about office hours, explanation of the tenure process, deadlines and that sort of thing for when your tenure evaluations have to be completed, when your meetings have to be scheduled. All of that information is located here in the contract. So this is a very important document to bookmark, and you'll go back to this. We have great union representation on campus. We have union liaisons in all of the different departments. So there should be someone in your department that you can speak to. If not, you can email Keith Ford. He is the current union president, and he will give you any information or point you to any resources that you need. He happens to be in my department. So we're very lucky to have him there, but he is available too and serves all of us. So I put his email address in the chat. James, I see your note about the ungrading. So that's an example of something that we could totally do a session on that. When we meet for our monthly meeting, we could spend the whole hour or 2 hours, whatever we decide on, having a group discussion about grading and about ungrading and mastery paths and portfolios and all of those different options. So that's definitely, if there's a topic that you're interested in that you would like to talk to your equity guide about, that you'd like to talk to your peers about, just let your guide know and we will work it into the agenda for you. All right. And then I'm always up for a side conversation. Hit me up anytime. Okay. So any questions about the contract? They asked us to briefly review the tenure process, but we don't have a lot of time today. So if anyone has any burning questions about tenure that I can answer about your first year of evaluations, you can ask those now also. I'm looking for hands. All right. So I don't see any questions. I will just say that one of the biggest obstacles that we have found in terms of equity work on campus is that folks are often intimidated and don't necessarily want to do anything to shake the, to rock the boat while they are working through their tenure process. I understand how nerve-wracking that process is. I actually left a tenure track position to take the position at Fresno City College, and I just finished tenure here. So I've been in the tenure process for the last 6 years straight. So I know what you're going through, and I will say that you have a lot of supports around the campus. And if there is something that you're doing and you're doing it specifically with student equity in mind, and you're getting pushback from your department, then that's something that we can have a conversation about in our groups, how to present it as part of your tenure plan and goals, how to get resources and allies in helping you meet those goals, that sort of thing. So we will talk about those things as you're going through the process in our meetings over the semester. And, any questions that you have, this is a safe space. I'll say that again and again and again. I'm not on any of your tenure committees, right? I don't think there's a single English faculty person in this group. So I'm not in your department. and we come from all over campus. So this is a place where you can talk to folks. We will not record our meetings. We will not take minutes. So if you have questions and concerns, or if you're getting pushback as you try to apply the equity-minded teaching principles or those kinds of things, or things that you learn about in the CORA trainings, then we can talk through that as we go through this process. So just know that you have this space for that. All right. Going back to my list, I'm rushing y'all because it's 11:50 and I don't want to keep you longer than 12, because I know that you're all probably wiped out at this point mentally. So I appreciate that you're still here with me, and I will try and keep the last bit of this brief. So as they mentioned in the presentation, you do have the opportunity to take part in a lot of different trainings and webinars throughout the school year. So just a little breakdown of your schedule, but the way the contract is written, we have, roughly your full-time load is equivalent to 20 hours in the classroom. Usually 15 hours in the classroom and then 5 hours of office hours. So that's your 20 hours. And then the expectation is that you will also spend an additional 5 hours in service to the campus. And so you do that through committee work and participating in your department and division activities, those kinds of things. And you will hear mixed messages about committee work in your first year. So you will be told, don't sign up for any committees because you are working on tenure. And you will be told, sign up for all the committees so you have things to put on your tenure evaluation. All right. So my advice to you is sign up for the things that are meaningful to you. Sign up for the things where you think you can institute change, and don't sign up for things if it's going to take away from the work that you're doing for your students, right? Because that's who we're here to serve primarily. But I am a dive right in with both feet kind of gal. So my first item of business when I got hired here was to get on a campus-wide committee so that I could learn more about how the campus functioned. And I joined program review, and wow, was I overwhelmed. But now I found out that, program review wasn't really the right fit for me. And so I moved over to Academic Senate, and now I'm on the Senate exec. And that is a much better fit for me to do the work that I want to do on campus, right? So you're going to hear at your division meetings and department meetings about openings to serve the campus on campus-wide committees and department committees and work groups and that kind of thing. Sign up for what you want to sign up for. During this first year, no one's going to force you to sign up for anything. But if there's something you're interested in doing, then by all means sign up. All right. Don't let anyone tell you you're not allowed to. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. And then let's see. So the other 5 hours then beyond your service to the campus is your professional development. And so the expectation is that, you spend about 5 hours a week. And again, these hours are not documented per se, but when you do activities, you will list them on your evaluation materials for your tenure process. And so the 5 hours for professional development, this is where it's a great fit for things like the CORA trainings, RAMREL, some of the other things that Ray mentioned during the orientation, and also things that are specific to your discipline. The California Community College System Chancellor's Office does weekly webinars on a variety of topics. And so watching those webinars, even if you can't watch them in real time, they're all recorded. And so all of that stuff meets that criteria. So if you are interested, what I will probably do for the folks that are in my group is I will send out anything that is related to equity that I think that you might be interested in attending. I'll share those links with you, and then you attend what you can. We can talk about it in our groups, and you can make sure that you are, including those in your evaluation materials, but also we can talk about really how to apply those things into our classes, all the practical stuff. So I have a little note here. I was told that, for the first year, you can focus more on the trainings than actually serving on committees. But I will say, you do you. Don't let anyone tell you how to do it. If you feel you want to be involved in some committees, then I would say join one. Don't try to join 5. And I got a lot of folks turning around and saying, you need stuff on your tenure file. So it's the way of passing the buck to the new folks. Don't let that happen either. All right. So if you're interested and you want to join, then definitely do, but don't feel pressured, especially in this first year. All right. So that's everything I had in terms of information to overload you with today. If you end up being in my group, my cohort, what we will do is I'll send out a doodle poll. We'll find a day and time that works. We'll meet for those 2 hours monthly, and I'll give you some things to think about ahead of the meetings, some articles to read, some resources to look at so we can talk about those. And then we'll also always have time for Q&A, time for you to ask any questions about what's going on in your classroom and how we can address that using the equity-minded principles. So in that spirit, these last 3 minutes are for Q&A. Does anyone have any questions for me today about anything I went over or anything that you heard in the training?
Is there any difference between tenure track position and 1-year contract?
Yes. So the 1-year contract positions, and we do a lot of those at Fresno City College, that you will still go through the tenure process, so that if at a later time you get hired for a tenure track position, you already have 1 year down. And so you won't have to do an extra year. So those of you that are on 1 semester or 1 year temporary contracts, you will still be evaluated as if you were in a tenure track position, and you will still have all of the same expectations in terms of hours of service to the campus. But you will have to, when a full-time position opens up, a full-time tenure track position opens up, you will have to reapply. So my first full-time position was a 1 semester temporary position. And so for the spring semester, I was full-time, I had benefits, I did all those things. And then in the fall, I had to apply when they opened a full-time position. So it is a little bit different because it's not a guarantee that you will end up in a tenure track position, but it's a great step in the right direction. And so the way we handle it is we make sure that you're getting full credit for the year, so that if you maybe have a break and then you come back in another semester into a tenure track position, the work you're doing now counts. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much. So when they open up the position, tenure track position, they open the position for everyone or just?
Yeah, it'll be like the way you applied this time.
Got it.
It'll be open for everyone to apply.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Other questions?
This is really random, but I think it's because I'm in syllabus mode and trying to start Canvas or move some of the things in Canvas. But I know the university or the college is still trying to figure out, it's how land acknowledgement statements. Do you know if there's any we could refer to for our syllabus? Because I think especially in instances, my classes are fully virtual. I wanted to make sure that I acknowledge, whose homelands we're on. I didn't know if the equity office has anything specific we can.
So I actually haven't been given one from the equity office, but it's something that I was thinking about this summer as I was hearing them from other campuses that I was working with. So I'll reach out to Ray and find out where we're at with that, and I'll get that information out to all of you.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? And I'll email Ray today so that you have that in time before your classes start on Monday. If it exists, if it's done. Okay, all right. Well, it's noon and hearing no other questions, I know you're exhausted, overwhelmed, have a lot to think about before Monday when classes start. So like I said, even if I don't end up being your guide, if you have questions for me over the next few days, you have my email in the chat. I'm very happy to answer any questions you have, look over anything that you're considering for your classes, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will be hearing from myself or whoever ends up being assigned as your guide sometime in the next week or two to get those meetings set up and get those on your calendar so you can plan your semester. All right. Congrats again, everyone. Have a great semester, and I look forward to working with you.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.